broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the very first Gala webinar of the year. My name is Manuela Noske, and I'm the Communications Manager here at Gala. Gala is a global non-profit trade association supporting the language industry. We're headquartered in Seattle, Washington, in the United States. Today we're going to have a presentation by Katarina Gashova from Moravia. And we're so pleased that each of you could join us from various locations all around the world to participate in the event. I will hand it over to Katarina in just a moment, but first I have a few housekeeping items to go over. We have muted everyone's lines to cut down on any background noise. If you experience any technical difficulties, you can let me know by using your chat box, and I will work with you to troubleshoot them. If you have a slow internet connection, your audio may be disrupted. If that happens, you can use the number listed on the GoToWebinar panel to call in using your own phone. We're making a recording of this presentation, and you will be able to find it following the presentation on Gala's global website. All participants will receive a link to the recording. Katarina will answer your questions at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to type them into your chat box throughout the webinar to get them into the queue. We will get to as many questions as we can with the time remaining at the end of the session. Before we begin, I'd like to take just a few moments to introduce Katarina to you. Katarina Gashova joined the first localization team of Moravia IT in 1994, having previously specialized in technical and legal translations. In 2004, Katarina set the foundation for Moravia's Linguistic Services Department to develop and implement language quality management strategy and expert language-related services at Moravia. As a team leader, expert advisor, and mentor, Katarina has been supporting the worldwide team of the in-house and in-country linguistic experts in linguistics, quality assurance, terminology management, machine translation quality assessment, and post-editing in both theory and practice. Katarina holds a master's degree from Masaryk University in Brno in English and German language and literature. She lives in Brno in the Czech Republic. I'd also like to add a few words about the webinar itself. We have intentionally set this up as a webinar that provides you with an overview of the concepts of language quality management, hence the name Language Quality Management in a nutshell. If there are specific areas you would like to get more information on, let's say how to measure the quality of post-edited translations, for instance, please use the survey at the end of the webinar to let us know. We would be happy to offer additional webinars this year on more specialized topics in language quality management. So for now, without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Katarina for the remainder of the session. Katka, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Manuela, for such a great introduction. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined this webinar. I must say, first of all, nice morning, nice afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am very honored to be here today with you and to be able to share with you the high-level information about how quality management can be organized. To begin with, let me please introduce the company I am representing. As you know from Manuela already, I've been with the company for a very, very long time. I've had the luxury to grow with the company in executing many different roles related to language quality, and last but not least, linguistic services as a whole. And I believe that it's really impressive to see Moravia's achievements up until now. Being part of the RWS holding now, our global presence has increased a lot, which is visible from this illustrative map. So, and let's get started with what we are to talk about today. Quality and any thoughts around it are an eternal topic. As a human being, I want to feel positive about products and services I'm buying and I'm paying for. So this is just a few interesting opinions I came across while getting ready for this webinar. I think all of them are very relevant. They highlight the importance of having the quality in mind all the time. And while doing so, also thinking of our customer in the very first place. I just don't have any other opinion than to agree that quality is the best business plan. Let's look into the business plan in more details. Quality can be understood as conformance to requirements. This sounds very simply, but how to achieve this? As in every plan, also in our quality business plan, we have to rely on people, on technologies, and on communication. Why people? The role of a translator has changed a lot recently. Today's linguist must be not just a linguist, it must be an enthusiast who masters his or her language, who knows English or the source language on an extremely high level or in detail, and who knows the product and also the local market. One can't imagine today's business without technologies, workflows, machine translation, automated quality checks, data collection systems, and many others. Jaap van der Meer, Taus director, speaks about an intelligent content delivery system today. And regardless all the progress technologies and artificial intelligence has made up till now, humans still remain in the center. Therefore, human interactions are the key to success. Customers with their expectations, and users with their needs, and linguists with whatever they can offer and they know. Often, linguists and also LSPs think that they know what the project entails. But it's only during the project execution itself when they figure out that the effort needed to complete the project is far different from what they had originally anticipated. So, extensive and structured information sharing and collaboration platforms are a must today. You simply can't measure, you can't manage if you don't measure. What is the core for measuring quality today? It is three interrelated elements: the quality of source, the quality of translation, and the emotional experience of the user. All of those three elements constitute the quality of the final product. So, does the target really say what is in the source? How well does the target read? Does the text meet its communicative purposes, and does it reflect the real-world conditions around this? Garbage in, garbage out. This is something that we often hear around us. And translators or LSPs who hire them, as well as buyers of the translation services who provide source materials and logically expect an excellent translation into the target languages, all of them would logically agree that translation is more difficult if there are errors in source materials. So what are the biggest challenges? I believe that everybody would agree that English as the source language constitutes a huge challenge for all of us. We know that grammar, lexicography, style, and tone of voice are of the biggest hurdles to overcome when we are looking for the right translation. Another challenge that may not be that huge and big for English because it's short and it does not differentiate between parts of speech so significantly, for example, is the variety of platforms that current localization happens into. We have to be very flexible in how we work with our target languages to be able to deliver accurate translation that fits, say, within the particular display space. Another big challenge, it's the variety of use case scenarios. Language differs as per the use case scenario. It may not be that much visible on English, but definitely it's visible on many, many languages we know and we deliver our translations into. So different tone of voice, different vocabulary might be needed for different types of user contents and so on. And last but not least, one of the biggest challenges consists in the fact that basically the products and texts today have a global reach, but they must have a local touch. So they must be culturally relevant. And source must consider all of those challenges the translator is facing. Let me give you a few examples of different types of source texts that might represent a variety of challenges. Most probably it's not necessary to go into details for every example, but just say the example of a conversation happening either on any of these social media means or shows that the localizer must really be kind of a magician to be able to grasp all of the puns and connotations and find the right concepts, tools, and projections of the source in their language and cultural environments. As you can see also on the screenshot with favorite and unfavorite buttons, space is a difficult blocker sometimes because it's easy to fit in the text for English. It's not that easy if you have to do it, say, for Czech or for German within the same space limitations. Or let's look into the interjections. Well, for me as a Czech native speaker, it's really difficult to find different translations and relevant translation for all of the English variants. Now let's look into the language quality, which is actually the translation output quality. Historically, translation quality was looked upon from the static perspective. So basically the main goal was just to capture and record all of the non-conformances of the targets against the source. This has changed over the years. And as you can see from the two definitions I'm presenting here, even though their authors come from completely different environments, Melby is the emeritus professor of linguistics at Birmingham University in Utah, and he is the member of governing council of the International Federation of Translators. He is a certified French to English translator and member of many translation and interpretation quality codifying standardization institutions. And Max Lobanov is the localization manager for EMEA and APEC and long tail at Google. So different backgrounds, yet the same perspectives of what quality translation means. It means we need to look at the quality today from a dynamic perspective. Both of them confirm there is actually no single set of quality criteria that would apply in all cases. Instead of that, quality must be sensitive to the purpose and situation. So, similarly to what Manuela did at the beginning of this session, setting expectations, it also applies for quality management. If we want to manage something, we need to understand it. We must know what is wanted from us, what are the success criteria, and what matters. Is it just usability? It means just the meaning is conveyed. Facts are understandable to the end user so that the user can accomplish the task or get the info he or she is searching for? Or are we looking for a solid, true reflection of the source with all necessary adjustments for the given locale, with no disturbing elements like grammar mistakes, inappropriate vocabulary or terminology or style inconsistencies, of course? Or is it more about tapping into the emotions the source provokes and enabling the product user to enjoy the same emotional experience while making use of all the product qualities? So different pictures represent different types of the expected outcomes to be delivered. And for anyone who wonders what the picture stands for, so it is symbols of Brno, the city where I live, and Moravia was founded more than 25 years ago. Not only expectations are enough, of course. We need to define the specifications of the quality. There is several key parameters to consider. The values we define for the individual parameters will help us determine what final output quality we need. And need and want might sometimes not be exactly the same thing. Implicitly, every buyer would want to get the best possible quality. However, the buyer would typically have a broad portfolio of contents to translate or of products to offer. And deeper communication with the buyer then would show that different contents have different purposes, hence the specification of what best quality is would differ. And this way, or considering this approach, we apply the concept of quality levels. There is a different taxonomy being used across the industry, but there is more or less a huge consensus of, say, the levels or how quality can be understood in terms of the different criteria that are then set for measurements, and also with regards to the use case scenario. As the next step, then, once we understand the levels of quality, we need to set the quality metric, so-called quality dimensions. The picture looks horrible. I believe that it's really scary to see so many different dimensions that might be included or should be covered when looking into the translation quality. But don't get scared. It's way simpler. So first, we need to clarify a very important starting point for quality measurements. We need to differentiate between what is an issue and between what is an error. The definitions show very clearly that there is a difference in that, because whatever is called issue or kind of potential problem may not be an error. It could simply be something that might draw the attention of quality evaluator, but it's not an error as such. An error is only an issue that is verified and can be verified against any specific guidance or valid guideline or valid rules. But it's not as easy as this. Different contents, different situations also cause cases in which the same issue or error may have a completely different impact. Therefore, the issue or error is or maybe or should be categorized with different severity, depending really on what the impact of the error or issue in the given particular case is. Just consider a typo. If there is a typo in a 100-page document, I would say that only a few people would notice. If there is a typo in a headline, everyone would notice. And that's exactly what needs to be taken into account if an error like typo needs to be assessed for the sake of quality measurement. To make it even more dynamic, it is also possible to increase the importance of some dimensions within a particular content. Like for your marketing text, fluency, naturalness of the language, specific attractive vocabulary is really way more important than absolute terminology adherence to a given glossary. Therefore, you weight linguistic or fluency errors in marketing with a much bigger number than, say, terminology errors. This slide shows the quality or error typology models that are currently being used. The two of them are really the most important industry-wide models. It's the MQM and it's the harmonized DQF MQM model or error typology used by Taos. You can see that there is a lot of overlap between the two of them. This has its practical reasons because the industry really needs more and more standardization, and even though MQM, which basically the picture in the original slide was taken from, is a system that works with many different categories for the sake of evaluation of translation quality. Not all of them are relevant. So definitely using the standardized taxonomy is recommended very much. I'm also listing SAE J2450 taxonomy because this is a standard that is still being widely spread across some industries like automotive or life science, and you see the taxonomy is slightly different. It's also worth noting that in quality management and working with dimensions, error types, it's good to have a good understanding of master categories, which are few, and then of various subcategories, which is useful if one needs have a solid understanding of the granularity of problems, and if one wants to use those types of data, say for driving various types of process improvements or improvements to reference materials and so on. Let me give you a short summary of what really should be considered when defining a quality metric. So it's just an overview of what we have already referred to in the previous slides. We need to consider content types, hence define levels of quality we want. Then we need to specify the error typology, and we should consider the granularity we need. Not every single error typology is always necessary. I'll show you in the forthcoming examples that it's enough sometimes to build quite simple quality models. Error severities, even though they are named differently across different systems, those should always be more or less within the same scope, like critical, major, minor, neutral, or preference. Some systems work with also repeats. Error weights, it's not kind of a mandatory dimension that needs to be always applied, but definitely if no error weight is applied, it means that, say, every error has the same weight, say the weight of 1. If you want to differentiate the importance of specific types of issues for a specific content, you apply different error weights. You always have to set the pass-fail threshold. It means that you always have to know how many error points, which means every error is expressed through a certain number of error points, and error points are calculated from severity and weight. So you need to specify how many error points you allow for a certain number of words, and then you get the score. The typical threshold is 1,000 words. It could be also 500. Again, systems differ. Also, you'll see it later. It's not that important if you say, if you define what the pass-fail threshold, like percentage or final number, is gonna be. Is it 95 or 90 or 85? It's more important to consider the granularity of the individual contributors to the final score. So examples, a very simple metric that basically shows that we only assign different weights to specific error master categories, depending on how relevant they are within the different content. Then the table below shows that basically we can say that the threshold is 90%, but it could be any number, it's just a number. But for us, what matters is we say 5 error points are allowed for 1,000 words. It means that if the sample is of 1,000 words, and if there is 5 error points achieved through whatever combinations of the error points visible in the table, then we have a score of 90, and this is a pass because we've said threshold is 90. This is kind of a very simple metric. It can be combined with kind of a different approach. You may want to have also kind of overall evaluation taken into consideration to be informed of the quality of the whole sample in general. You can define different Likert scales, and then you can link those with different, say, scores. And again, you define the proportion between the concrete score, which is this one, and the proportion between the subjective score, which is this one. And if you have a combined model, then say with the same number of error points reported, you would get different final result independence on the experience rating, on what you have defined in here. It is a little bit more complicated, but we see scenarios where our clients want really to differentiate what matters for the relevant content types, not only under the individual error types, but also under the kind of subjective, subjective yet guided subjective evaluation. Another example of dynamic metric shows a very complex and complicated metric. You can see that we have several different types of quality levels here, and every single subcategory, so even sub-dimension of the main dimension, has its own weight for different types of errors. Then the overall score calculation is also defined in a way that there is a different threshold and different number of error points allowed for 1,000 words. Some of the buyers may want to have such a sophisticated metric, but to begin with, or typically, I would say the previous examples are the most more frequently used ones. Of course, dashboards help take informed decisions. So the data that are being entered in the LQA scorecards need to be collected, need to be visualized, and need to be analyzed. In here we can see, say, two very simple types of data visualization. In this picture, you can see the LQA scores, where the passing rate, the threshold, is 75. And then you can see how various languages are delivering within a certain period of time. At the same time, you can see how many errors, which is the red column, are there detected per 1,000 words for the individual language. This is just an overall summary, and then you can even drill down further, and you may want to know how the individual content types are doing, and you would be getting this type of an information to be able to confirm that, say, for German, software localization is on that level, whereas, say, I don't know, marketing is on that level. Another perspective of looking at the data is just a simple kind of chart graphs where you can look into the scores or monitor the scores before and after arbitration, which is sometimes a very interesting information. In here you have the bar set at 90, and you monitor how the scores are fluctuating. You also need to understand the performance of the individual, say, translators, meaning languages, so you can use this visualization. On a corporate level, however, you need completely different type of data, because in a corporation like ours, we work for many clients. Their clients have different quality metrics and different expectations expressed through different passing bar. Therefore, for us, it's the only possible perspective of how to look at quality is just to look at whether the deliverables have met the criteria or not. So we're measuring number of QAs or QA feedbacks we have, and we are measuring how many of those have passed and how many of those have failed. And then we are also looking into the proportions, meaning what is the percentage or proportion between the pass and fail in the given months or over a time, and one can be looking into that globally or per language or per client. So this is exactly the data every quality manager should be working with. In here, we have been talking about quality scores, quality results. It's also important to look into the types of errors. So one must understand very well which errors are the biggest troublemakers. At the same time, also what is the proportion between critical, say, and preferential issues as displayed in here. And this can be like specific for every client. Now I am talking from a perspective of an MLV, again, who delivers translations to many different clients with many different systems, with many different taxonomies. So for client purposes, we follow clients setup. For our corporation purposes, we do the normalization using the taxonomy that is valid for the industry. In our case, it's kind of this TAUS DQF/UNQN model. So that then in general, we can compare apples to apples across the whole company. So far, we have spoken about translation quality. Now, let's look shortly into the third and very important contributor to product quality, and this is user experience. It is a common mistake to equate usability to user experience. Usability, this is what we talked about earlier. User experience, it's emotional experience. User experience is how you feel, about every interaction with the product you have in front of you in the moment you are using it. So user experience is the outcome of the interaction between the internal state of user and between the product itself. The internal state of user depends on many different factors that we very often can't even influence, like immediate mood of the end user. But in any case, that state of the user incredibly impacts how user feels about the product in the end. While we cannot control user's mood, say level of tiredness and motivation of the user in the moment the user works with the product, we can run many different initiatives to collect information about users' behavior and users' expectations. Let me show a few examples here. It's the known A/B testing. It's also some community feedbacks. It's about bugs that are being reported by testers, whoever it means. It's monitoring the traffic on some websites. It's monitoring different types of ratings user give while interacting with the product or using it. Understanding the active goals of customers' KPIs and the needs of customers' user groups is another key part of our quality management. Examples. So this is the feedback data, say on a certain product. Just numbers, issue count, and then whatever information one needs. What is more interesting is basically this piece of information. And this is what, say, we should be considering. We take this type of information, feedback and data, and then we get the information from the client, and they might have it from their end users, say, about how important, so what's the priority of fixing the issue is. So this is like the needs, the expectations of the client or their users. However, from translation quality perspective, this is the view that is relevant. It means that basically, even though something might be super high priority for a certain feedback contributor, because that feedback contributor knows very well that his clients want to see a certain item localized exactly in a particular way. From a linguistic perspective, that may not be important at all, or it could be rather preferential, and so on. So basically, to be able also to somehow align data from LQA review, which is done without, very often without any context, with the data that come from active users or customers. It's crucial to understand or map again data using the same language. Also, then this chart shows us that basically, yes, a big portion of the reported issues has been accepted, either because it's a really high priority for the client, and it's understood regardless of the category which it fills into here, or it is a combination of both. Or long term, it's obvious that this feedback helps improve the quality of the product. Also, another perspective that should be taken into account is the fact that feedback coming from users, customers, very often could be characterized or marked as preferential. So if we go into the preferential category, then we may want to say, okay, yes, it's preferential because it really requires a completely different, more creative approach. So that's an example of how feedback data can be analyzed. The forthcoming slides show, again, different perspectives on how bugs can be categorized and tracked. This chart and the next one are good examples of how different types of feedback received from a client, be it really structured feedback that is reported in a form of a bug with all of the additional data and metadata included, or just a verbatim feedback, can be remapped and categorized using the same taxonomy. And then it's way easier to compare apples and apples and identify where the issues are, what the improvement actions should be on, say, our side with translators, or changes in glossaries, or changes in workflow, address source issues, etc. So let me conclude with final thoughts. First recommendation to be given is really know who your customer is and understand their success criteria. It's not that easy and simple as it sounds here now. Clarify and set expectations up front. Don't forget to cascade them down to every stakeholder in the workflow chain. Whatever you as a manager, as an LSP, quality manager, have agreed with the client, your translators must understand what, why. Define quality measurements to assess what matters for you. Measurements can be very simple, but should consider quality in its complexity. Never forget about source, target, or translation qualities and user experience elements. Execute on the quality plan, meaning measure, analyze, benchmark, and communicate. It's like communication is key to success and helps make the clients, whoever it is, happy. So I have opened the webinar with a few thoughts around quality. So let me conclude in the same manner. I believe that both thoughts are super relevant regardless of the time their authors lived. And with that, thank you very much for your attention today.
Thank you, Katarina, for this fantastic webinar. We do have quite a few questions from the audience, so let me relate those to you. Here's one question about the language quality section. Do you have the taxonomy model integrated into your CAT tool, and are your proofreaders using the taxonomy model while correcting all the assignments, or is it just sample-based?
Moravia is a company that use CAT tools depending on the preferences of our clients. In our system, we have the taxonomy embedded in the review system. and the proofreaders or LQA specialists or revisers or whoever basically reviews the translation, they are expected, first of all, to follow the taxonomy imposed and expected, defined by the relevant client. We do have thorough mapping system running in the background, so that we then can obtain standardized perspective of the data as well.
All right, thank you. We have one question about the visualization of the quality data. So one of our audience members says that if he understands this correctly, the more points a translation has, the more errors it seems to have. So this would mean that if the curve goes up, the quality actually goes down. If you could clarify that that is indeed the case, that would be great. But this person is asking, have you found this confusing for your PMs or your clients, or do you somehow invert the data before you relate it?
Thank you very much for this great question. It's actually not as simple as that. It's true that the more error points are reported, in reality, the lower the quality should be, because more error points means more errors. In such a case, indeed, the curve should go down. This is like the simplification we can make. I'm not sure if I got properly the second part of the question, whether it is confusing or it is not. Mm-hmm. The logic is simple. High number of error points means that the score goes down, so decreases, because the ideal, say, quality window or quality scale is between 0 and 100, while 100 is the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Then we have one question about the categorization of issues. So that means, if you're looking at a fluency or an inconsistency issue, one person would like to know who performs this categorization. Is it the customer or is it Moravia?
Again, it depends. As a big corporation, we work for big brands who have a clear definition of how quality should be measured. In such a case, they define their error typology, error categories, and also they define the metric, the formula behind. However, there are many other buyers in the industry who may not have such a system in place yet. And in such cases, we build the quality measurement system in collaboration. This is exactly what I was referring to when talking about setting expectation, and that communication is key to one of the key success criteria.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for that. We have one question here: how often your checks are run, and if there are tight deadlines, do you ever skip any of these checks? And if you do that, at what point are the findings actually reintegrated into the content for corrections or improvements?
So all of that are marvelous questions, I must say. So thank you for those. Again, it differs. It's true that if you have a few hours to deliver the translation, so you don't have much time to run a thorough quality check. Scenarios differ. So ideally, definitely this sample review happens prior delivery to fix issues that are detected. If that's not possible, very often also the check in the moment of delivery is being done specifically for, say, contents with I call it short life cycle. So basically fixes can be implemented easily because of frequent updates to those contents. So since we really work for many different clients with different localization models or localization models of different level of agility, we need to adjust the sampling process. And if it's really impossible to fit it in, definitely kind of in parallel, we call it point of delivery or post-delivery checks, quality checks happen. What happens or how to go around fixes? Again, either it's just possible to fix the issue within the next or one of the future life cycles of the content, or we agree with the clients about the scenarios that can be used so that the quality of the product is improved. Mm-hmm. But we never hide issues in front of the clients, even though sometimes it's unpleasant, but yeah, it is important to be open.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. We have a few more questions, but we're running out of time. So I will relate those questions on to you, Katarina. And if you have time, it would be great if you could get back to the person who's asking and clarify for them what Moravia's approach is to the issues that they're raising. Katarina, thank you very much for your webinar, and thank you to all of the audience members for the great questions. Any closing words for the audience, Katarina?
So first of all, let me thank you personally to you, Manuela, for your invitation to this webinar. Thanks to everyone for listening to me. I hope that the information delivered has been interesting. I am aware of the fact that it might have seemed overwhelming to some of you, but that's quality. And I will be more than happy to reply to any questions you might have, or work with you, Manuela, on any type of follow-up session if necessary. My very last question would be that really quality is something that is always present. It's visible if it's forgotten to take care of this. And there is no one-size-fits-all model. So currently, there is no standard that would tell you that, say, 5 errors per 1,000 words. This is the metric. You have to do the due diligence with your content types, your customers and recipients, users, to understand what really matters to them, and then to reflect this in their quality measurements. Mm-hmm. And again, there is many other contributors and elements that affect the quality, not only people, tools, and communication. It's also various types of reference materials that translators have to work with, time, compensation models. It's simply complex, but nice topic.
Thank you. And another big thank you to all our participants for joining us today. We would really appreciate it if you could take just a minute to give us your feedback on today's session using the post-event survey. It is quite short, but your perspectives help us to continue to refine our webinar program. And with that, I wish you all a good day or a good night, depending on where you are. And I look forward to seeing you at another Gala webinar soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.